Let me tell you about this guy Espen and his daily routine. His morning starts with an energetic bike ride through a pine forest. After an intense gym session and some indoor climbing, our friend will relax his muscles in the sauna. Next, it's time for some quiet time in a well-stocked library where there may be the chance to attend a lecture or two. At lunch, the lucky guy will enjoy dishes prepared with locally sourced produce, followed by a game of snooker. During the afternoon, Espen may get to know the new arrivals at the farm, a new Hereford cow or a beautiful workhorse. As the sun sets over the islands, he may take a walk on the beach with his friends and maybe even try a spot of fly fishing in the crystal clear waters of the fjord. Sounds alright, doesn't it? You may be wondering, well, how can I get me some of that? Unfortunately, the website for this resort does not accept any bookings. To access it, you may have to follow in Espen's footsteps. Go to Norway, find a bank, walk in, and rob it. After you're caught and receive your sentence, you may ask to be transferred to Bastoy Islands, which is almost certainly the nicest prison in the world. Our destination today is the largest low-security prison in Norway, located on the small Bastoy Island in the Oslo Fjord. It has a surface area of only 2.6 square kilometers, so it depends on the municipality of Horten for supplies. Horten is just a short ferry ride away. The institution occupies the whole island, but the beach of Nordbukta on the northern shores is open to the general public. If you visit, you may have some unexpected encounters with one of the 100 or so inmates. The convicts are free to exit their cells at any time and roam around the island. Bastoy Prison is not your average jail. It is organized as a small independent community, complete with about 80 buildings, roads, beaches, sporting facilities, woodlands, and a farm. This farm is run according to ecological and sustainable principles. Produce and livestock are grown without the use of artificial fertilizers. This ensures that the prison canteen is always stocked with fresh organic produce. In general, the entire island is managed with a focus on minimizing waste and CO2 emissions. The inhabitants of Bastoy can enjoy a gym, a local shop, a library, and access to health services and a church. I may have given the impression that our friend Espen and other convicts spend their day just playing about, but actually most of the day is dedicated to educational and working sessions. Inmates can work in the local technical workshop, which could earn them a craftsman license. They can, of course, tend to the farm, cook in the kitchen, or work shifts at the small harbour. This is where the ferry Bastoy arrives and departs from several times a day. It brings some 40,000 passengers and 1,000 vehicles every year, and it is the main link to mainland Norway. And that's right, the ferry services are managed by convicts. Of course, it would be dead easy for one of them to hijack the vessel and go on the lam, but it wouldn't necessarily be in their best interest. The whole concept of Bastoy and other similar institutions is to provide a more pleasant experience than most jails. Heck, more pleasant than most college dorms. This way, authorities can focus on re-educating prisoners and reintroducing them into society with the ultimate aim of reducing reoffending rates. We will explore more in detail how this system works and whether or not it really delivers. But before it committed to re-educating its inmates, Bastoy authorities were dedicated to the utmost punishment of its inhabitants. Before becoming such an idyllic prison, Bastoy had earned the title of Devil's Island. The first incarnation of Bastoy Prison was Bastoy Boys' Home, a reformatory for young offenders. Back in 1896, Sweden and Norway were still a union under the ruling house of Bernadotte. But Norway had its own parliament, which in 1896 promulgated the Child Welfare Council Act. This law put into place a reformatory system designed to re-educate children who were not serious offenders. The goal was to reintroduce them to society as honest citizens, preventing them from spiraling to a life of crime. In the same year, Bastoy Boys' Home was founded, opening its gates in 1900. To the general public, the Boys' Home presented itself as a safe boarding school for troubled young boys, a solid institution offering a Christian upbringing through the values of hard work and discipline. The boys were overseen by a council of guardians whose job was to find the best educational pathway for each individual while refraining from punishment. But very soon, dark rumors began circulating about harsh conditions and disproportionate discipline meted out on the young inmates. These rumors were confirmed by the 1907 novel By Law, written by whistleblower Mikael Stolp. His real name was Bjorn Evjer, and he had been a teacher at Bastoy. His account used fictionalized names, but the events attracted the attention of the Norwegian government, independent from Sweden since 1905. Eventually, By Law triggered the biggest scandal in the history of Norwegian child welfare. Evjer exposed how boys had to sleep in overcrowded, underheated dormitories, sharing short, thin blankets, useless against Norwegian winter nights. Food was scarce and sanitation was poor, both contributing factors to chronic poor health conditions. Guardians had in general a lack of respect and care for the children, punishing them with whips or riding crops for any minimal transgression. The staff held harsh Christian and Puritan morals, meaning that teen boys caught masturbating, well, they'd soon regret it. Since the early years of the Bastoy home, boys partook in small acts of rebellion, mainly hunger strikes, but with little effect. The first larger protests took place in the summer of 1908. The Ministry of Education had finally decided to conduct an inquiry into the conditions at Bastoy and its two other reformatories. Bjorn Evia and other witnesses confirmed all the worst suspicions to the Norwegian public. As the inquest dragged on, news reached the ministry that a fire had broken out in Bastoy. A group of inmates, tired of punishment and maybe also seeking some attention, had set fire to the main barn at Bastoy. But apparently their plan was to set fire to the whole institution. Following these events, the ministry confirms that abuse had no doubt taken place in all three reformatories under scrutiny. The outcome led to a review of the 1896 law, which ensured better conditions were to be enforced in the boys' homes. But the effects of the scandal soon fizzled out like the northern lights at dawn. By May the 21st, 1915, abuse and neglect had again become common practice, so much so that a group of boys planned a mass escape from the island. When the prison break failed, they opted for open rebellion. Once again, they set fire to the main barn and moved on to attack their former guardians. Soon, they'd taken over the island. Once the government learnt about the uprising, they reacted swiftly, lest the inmates managed to escape to the mainland. We could not find records of how many boys participated in the revolt. Odds are that it was a few dozen pre-teens and young teenagers. Nevertheless, the Norwegian army took no chances. They sent in 150 troops, torpedo boats, a large warship, and a submarine to cordon off Bastoy. Satirical magazine of Epsom commented at the time, "During the hunt for the escaped Bastoy boys, our soldiers have taken an excellent test of courage and bravery." Needless to say, this second rebellion was decisively quashed. Almost a century later, in 2010, the events of the uprising were fictionalized in the Norwegian film The King of Devil's Island. But by the time it smashed the local box offices, Bastoy and the whole Norwegian prison system had undergone a fairly radical change. The reformatory was kept in operation until 1970. After its closure, the infrastructure was used as a shelter for the homeless, then a clinic for disabled patients, and finally a rehab centre. It was only in 1983 that the Bastoy Prison for adult offenders was opened. First, it functioned only as a satellite of the maximum security jail of Horten. Then, in 1988, it gained formal status as an independent prison. There are 100 to 120 inmates that can be housed in Bastoy, there to serve mid to long sentences, with the average duration running 5 years. Some have been sent here straight from the courtroom, while others have applied for transfer from another prison. The procedure is quite simple. The convict must contact the local sentence officer to file a transfer request. In the application, the convict should state what his plans are for the future and his motivation to re-enter society as a law-abiding citizen. Prison authorities in Bastøy take into account other factors, especially if the offender has taken part in a violent crime, is part of a syndicate, or is a flight risk. But on several occasions, authorities have accepted the requests of fairly hardened criminals, murderers, rapists, and drug dealers, but in all cases, they were nearing the end of their sentence and had shown a clear intention to leave their criminal past behind. If a request is accepted and a felon makes it to the island, he will meet his contact officer within 2 weeks of arrival. Together, they will map the short and long-term development plans for the new arrival. These plans may include the attainment of a diploma, certificate, or degree, or perhaps the learning of a new skill, qualification, or trade to ensure a full reintroduction into society. As part of their recovery plan, prisoners must commit to 3 cardinal rules: no violence, no alcohol, no drugs. The last restriction includes tranquilizers, hormones, or any other chemical substance not legally prescribed. Prison officers enforce this ban by taking daily urine samples from every inmate collected at random times throughout the day. Convicts who cannot shake off their addictions can be referred to the Addiction Handling Unit, opened in December of 2009. There they will be followed by 3 consultants, one of which is an ex-con. Besides collecting pee in jars, Bastoy workers do enforce security rather tightly, but not in the traditional visible way. The guard-to-inmate ratio is quite high, with 35 warders looking after up to 120 convicts. At night, though, only 4 officers remain on site, while the rest are ferried back to the mainland. In any other prison, that would be an invitation to riot. And prisoners would not be short of weapons, as most perform agricultural or workshop jobs. They have wide access to knives, axes, hammers, and even chainsaws. But authorities take great care to ensure that guards and inmates have a close, respectful relationship, which has proven to all but eliminate the episodes of violence between the two groups. Recently, prison governor Arne Nilsen proudly declared, "I have not had one violent incident here." And the lack of traditional repressive methods hasn't caused mass escapes either. In all of Bastoy's recent history, there has only been one recorded escape. In 2015, a prisoner fled to the mainland using a surfboard and a paddle, or a fishing boat according to some sources. Whatever the means, the end was the same. He was caught and sent back to a high-security jail with no chance of a return to Bastøy in the future. In fact, Nilsen is so sure about his guests not escaping that he welcomes all new arrivals with the same speech. If you should escape and make it across the water to the free shore, find a phone and call so I know you're okay, so we don't have to send the Coast Guard looking for you. Research carried out by the Technical University of Eindhoven in the Netherlands has explored the beneficial impact of the prison's layout and design on the experiences and behavior of prisoners. You may have picked up already that there are no large prison blocks here, no endless corridors protected by armored doors and scanned by CCTV cameras, no bars on the windows. Well, except for 2 high-security cells reserved for violent inmates, but those are rarely, if ever, used. The institution is laid out as a typical Norwegian village of wooden cottages decorated with plastered surfaces and brightly coloured tiles. Each cottage is shared by 6 prisoners who enjoy their own private room on the upper floor, and they share a bathroom, kitchen, living room on the ground floor. The houses are surrounded by hectares of greenery, encouraging contact with nature and an active lifestyle. The communal areas have also been designed with similar care. The library is decorated with contemporary Norwegian art, while the canteen, where convicts and guards sit together, was described by British journalists as something that could pass for a trendy London restaurant. Bastøy authorities have broken down and reconstructed the physical, material experience of prison life down to every detail. The exterior signs of institutional life and oppression have been transformed into a welcoming community and intended to project the inmates into their future lives. The architectural aspects are not lost on the convicts, especially those who have been transferred from high-security jails. But what really matters to them is the shift in the way that they're treated, the way they're given responsibility and shown trust. One inmate reported, "I feel I have value because the boss and the employees see me as a person. I do not care about colours and modern buildings. I care about the people that give me a feeling of personal value." This approach applied at Bastoy Island has for sure attracted some critics. Those who believe that criminals should receive a harsh punishment for their misdeeds have dismissed the Norwegian jail as no more than a cushy island resort. Governor Nilsen is quick to shut down these denigrators. While he admits that the regime may appear to be too lax, from his perspective, the ultimate goal of a prison system is to prevent convicts from returning to a life of crime. And figures speak for themselves. Bastøy, at just 16%, can boast the lowest reoffending rate in Europe. The measures in place at the low-security institution may work for that specific instance, but would they be as effective when extended to an entire country? As a matter of fact, since the 1990s, the government of Norway has applied some of the Bastoy principles to other institutions, even the high-security ones. In 2019, the outcome of these reforms was evaluated by a study carried out by researchers at the University of Oslo, Norwegian School of Economics, University of California, and the University of Chicago. It reported that incarceration in the country's system lowers the probability an individual will reoffend within 5 years by 27% and reduces the corresponding number of criminal charges by an individual by 10%. It also highlighted the beneficial effect on employment rates. Imprisonment causes a 34% increase in participation in job training programs. Consider this. The employment rate of jobless convicts increased by 40% within 5 years since their incarceration. The Norwegian study was compared to similar research on the US justice system conducted in Texas, Michigan, and North Carolina. The US studies showed that incarceration increased severity and incidence of recidivism and worsened outcomes in the labor market. According to the study, then, the system put in place at Bastøy is clearly working. If you happen to be a criminal justice official and you'd like to extrapolate the basic ingredients of the recipe at Bastøy, well, here they are. Number 1, place low-level offenders in minimum security prisons where they are given more freedom and responsibilities. Number 2, avoid overcrowding. Keep 1 prisoner per cell to lower the inmate-to-staff ratio. Number 3, offer adequate education, drug treatment, mental health, and training programs. Number 4, provide post-release support to help ex-cons reintegrate into society. The natural objection to such a program is that it will cost taxpayers dearly, who may not be so eager to pay for the college degree of a criminal regardless of how serious their crimes were. In fact, the Norwegian prison system spends twice the annual amount per inmate compared to other Western European countries and up to 4 times more compared to the United States. So is it worth it to invest in such a system? Well, apparently yes. These high costs are offset by the corresponding benefits to society. Low reoffending rates translate to fewer crimes being committed, meaning a reduction in costs for criminal courts and policing. Higher employment rates also translate into more taxes paid to the government, as well as lower benefits being handed out. Finally, a drop in crime results in lower victimization costs. These are the costs incurred by victims of a crime and include property loss, medical bills, reduced productivity, higher insurance premiums, and, very importantly, non-monetary losses like fear, stress, and overall loss of quality of life. Data from the World Prison Brief as of April 2021 further shows that the Norwegian system is yielding some promising results. The prison population rate in Norway is 54 per 100,000 citizens. That places the Scandinavian country in place 193 out of 223. The ranking is topped by the US, with 693 convicts per 100,000 of the population. Local prisons are also far from overcrowded. The occupancy level compared to available cells is 76.1%. In this respect, Norway ranks 173rd internationally. The most overcrowded prison system belongs to the Republic of the Congo with a rate of 617%. So, which prison system would best benefit our society? One based on the old Devil's Island, or one where the modern-day Bastøy leads the way? So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and thank you for watching.